We're less than a month away from the NFL draft, so naturally we have a relatively clear idea on what each team needs to do. Anyways, let's waste no more time and jump into yet another mock draft. And so with the first overall pick, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams. This is pretty much a lock to happen at number 1. There's not even need for explanation, Williams may be a generational talent, and the Bears already built quite a strong supporting cast for him, so this makes perfect sense. At number 2, the Commanders get Jaden Daniels. This is what makes most sense for me given their free agency signings. It's still unknown which quarterback they will take here, but I think the LSU prospect would definitely be the best fit. With the third overall pick, the Patriots select JJ McCarthy. This guy's inexplicable race in draft boards must be studied. At this point, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see him land in New England, a team which has actually shown quite some interest in taking him here. Moving on, the Arizona Cardinals select Marvin Harrison Jr. The receiver out of Ohio State is the best one in the entire draft class, and if the Cardinals aren't trading back, then he's the only right option. Great starter right away and surely a dangerous weapon to pair alongside Kyler Murray. At number 5, we have a trade. The Vikings sent quite a package to move up 6 spots in order to draft UNC quarterback Drake May. He probably has the highest floor out of every QB on this class, which would justify the trade-up for Minnesota. May is very skilled, and with the weapons the Vikings have, I think he could be quite successful with them. Moving on, we have yet another trade. The Giants move back 3 spots for a generous compensation in next year's draft, so now at number 6, the Chicago Bears select Joe Alt. By doing this, the Bears would be massively improving their offensive line with a guy capable of being an all-pro sooner rather than later. They don't pay a lot to move up, but they sure do give Caleb Williams some really good protection. With the 7th overall pick, the Titans get Olu Fashanu. Offensive tackle is their biggest position of need, so they've got to take one here. The Penn State product is a relatively safe pick, and he's a guy with the talent to be a top tier lineman in the league while having a very high floor. Moving on, the Falcons select Malik Neighbors. Wide receiver may not be their biggest position of need, but if Neighbors is available, I can guarantee you they will not pass on him. Neighbors and London would make an insane wide receiver duet for Kirk Cousins, and this would definitely turn Atlanta's offense into top 10 for sure. At number 9, the Giants, who traded back, select Rome Odunze. This is an ideal scenario for New York since they got some compensation for moving back and still draft the guy they probably would have taken at number 6. Odunze is a great fit and he would easily become the team's number 1 wideout right away. On to the Jets, Taliese Fuaga. This is honestly a good fit, and even though it seems as a slight reach, it could pay off big time. The Jets still need some help in the trenches, and the tackle out of Oregon State would provide much needed protection to Aaron Rodgers right away. With the 11th overall pick, the Chargers will select Brock Bowers. If this guy's available here, LA will take him immediately. They got an insanely good return for the 5th overall pick, and now they get the best tight end in the class to help Justin Herbert. Simply amazing for the Chargers. At number 12, the Denver Broncos select Dallas Turner. If this guy is somehow available at this spot, Denver will draft him for sure. Turner is arguably the most skilled defensive player of the class, and he could be a star right away in any team across the league. On to the Raiders, Terrion Arnold. Many consider him to be the best corner of the class, and although that's somewhat debatable, there is no question he would fit in perfectly over in Las Vegas. His potential is out of this world, and taking a chance with him at this spot isn't a terrible idea. With the 14th overall pick, the Saints get Byron Murphy. The defensive tackle out of Texas has the potential to be a generational talent. New Orleans could very well use the help in the defensive side of the ball, even if it isn't their biggest liability right now. At number 15, the Colts select Quinyon Mitchell. He probably has the most potential out of every cornerback in this class, so hey, this makes sense. He could be a day 1 starter over in Indianapolis, and if developed correctly, I could see him becoming one of the best defensive players in the NFL pretty soon. Up next, the Seahawks get Jackson Powers Johnson. This may be a little too early for a center, but hey, I could definitely see it happening. The lineman out of Oregon would fit in perfectly with Seattle's scheme, and his style of play would suit the Seahawks perfectly right away. With the 17th pick, the Jaguars get Nate Wiggins. They need some help over at the defensive side of the ball, and this would honestly be a good pickup. Wiggins is rather talented, and honestly, I think he could actually fit really well over in Jacksonville. At number 18, the Bengals select Jershawn Newton. This guy has the potential to be the best D-lineman in the league, so why not take him? The Bengals have a lot of holes in the roster, but I don't think they can really pass on a guy like Newton in this situation. On to the Rams, Cooper DeJean. Honestly, they have much bigger bigger needs than cornerback, 100%. However, sometimes you just gotta go for the best player available. DJ's potential is just insane, and I think Sean McVay would love to have a guy like him on this team. At number 20, we have a trade. With JPJ gone, the Steelers decide to move back and get some good draft capital in return, which means the Cardinals are now on the clock and they select Laiaru Laru. He's potentially the most talented defensive end out there, and he may as well be within striking distance for Arizona. They need help in the defense, so moving up 7 spots to grab him would make a lot of sense to me. Moving on, the Dolphins get Amarius Mims. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the nation and arguably the best one available. The Dolphins need to protect Tua Tagovailoa, and I think getting the Georgia tackle here is a move that helps them do precisely that. With the 22nd overall pick, the Eagles get Jared Verse. It would be a miracle if he makes it this far, so of course the Eagles would take advantage of it. Yeah, they may have bigger needs, but when there's a potential low pro available, you've got to take him. On to the Chargers, who got this pick from Minnesota, Arnai Mitchell. Since they lost both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, it makes a lot of sense to invest one of their first rounders in a wideout. The receiver out of Texas would be a day one starter over in LA, and pairing him up with Justin Herbert could prove to be lethal. With the 24th pick, the Cowboys select Graham Barton. They need some help in the trenches, and well, Barton would provide it right away. The Cowboys don't have a lot of options here, but I think taking the Duke lineman makes some sense. Moving on to the Packers, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Getting this guy to learn alongside Jair Alexander would be the perfect opportunity to exploit his potential. This may seem as a confusing pick, but when you think about it, it makes all the sense in the world and could turn out amazing for Green Bay. At number 26, the Buccaneers get Chop Robinson. He may not be projected to be a first rounder by many analysts, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone took a chance with him. Robinson is insanely talented, and the Buccaneers could very well use someone like him over in the defense. On to the Steelers, they get JC Latham. By trading back, they can now get a top lineman here and still get a good wideout or corner in round 2. The offensive tackle out of Alabama is a great fit, and I think he could be a long-term solution for Pittsburgh's offensive line issue. With the 28th overall pick, the Bills get Brian Thomas Jr. Their wide receiver room is terrible, and possibly the worst one in the NFL. Thomas would easily become the team's number 1 wideout, and I'm sure he could thrive being Josh Allen's favorite target. Moving on, the Lions get Kamari Lassiter. I'm pretty sure they'll take a cornerback round 1 regardless of who is it. Lassiter could be a day 1 starter, and I actually think he could fit in well in Campbell's defensive scheme. At number 30, the Ravens get Troy Fautanu. This may seem as a questionable pick, but think about it just for a second. The Ravens would be getting a starting left tackle to protect Lamar Jackson's blindside for a foreseeable future. That's honestly amazing value for a late first round pick. Moving on, the San Francisco 49ers get TJ Tampa. They could use the help at cornerback, and honestly, there isn't much they can do in this situation. The guy out of Iowa State could easily succeed in the Niners scheme, so I think it would make sense for them to get him. And now with the 32nd overall pick, the Chiefs get Ladd McConkey. He's the type of wide receiver every quarterback loves to have. He would be a perfect match with Mahomes' style of play, and I think both would massively benefit from one another. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.